Each week, nearly a dozen movies are released theatrically. 40 films a month, more than 400 a year. That's a plethora of cinema. Too much cinema. You'd have to be an addict to see all that, but don't fret. We've got you covered. This is CinemAddicts. Each week, nearly a dozen movies are released theatrically. 40 films a month, more than 400 a year. That's a plethora of cinema. Too much cinema. You'd have to be an addict to see all that, but don't fret. We've got you covered. This is CinemAddicts.
Hey everyone, what's up? It's a new week of CinemAddicts. This is CinemAddicts episode 336. I'm joined by my better Eric Holmes and of course Bruce Purkey's up in the attic. We're covering movies coming out the week of Friday, March 20th, 2026. These movies include Touch Me, Spacewoman, and that is it. That is the only two movies that we're going to cover this week. Eric, am I missing anything that from the top two? What?
Oh, we got Touch Me and we got the space movie. I think that's it.
That's it. That's how dare
there's
we?
No other movies to. Oh wait, yeah, there is the one. There is
what?
the one.
A little indie movie. We only cover indie movies here. Eric.
Ryan Reynolds, I think.
I love Ryan Reynolds. He was really good in La La Land. Yeah, I loved him in La La Land. Ryan Reynolds, so good. No, so you have a Ryan Gosling movie, Eric Holmes. Is it a small little indie? What's going on right now? Is it a little small movie, that little gem like Bruce Purkey says? What is it? What do you?
Normally we would record on Thursday, and the plan was because I was going to go watch Project. We're talking about Project Hail Mary.
Okay.
Mentioned it once or twice on the show before, I do believe. But
yes,
there was a 2:00 showing on Thursday, which, as we're recording this, it's Wednesday, so I haven't seen the 2:00 showing. But the plan was to watch the 2:00 showing on Thursday, come here, record the show, and then I'd be able to cover Project Hail Mary.
Detour, do you still have tickets to the Thursday 2:00 show?
No, I hadn't bought them yet.
Oh, you hadn't bought them. Sorry.
Well, anyway, so Monday I had off, and I was like, well, let's check to see, just to double check what the show times are. Is that the only one there is? Oh, hey, it says there's a showing today at 7 p.m. up in Littleton, Colorado, which is basically Denver. For those in Denver or Littleton, you probably yell at me, but those outside of Denver, it's like, yeah, close enough. But anyway.
How far from you, drive-wise?
It was about like 45 minutes.
Okay.
But
right.
It's hard to gauge because traffic on the way up to Denver or the way back from Denver will vary wildly.
Okay.
So I went up early. It was like 45 minutes, but if there was traffic, it could have taken 2 hours easy. You live in LA, I'm sure you can understand how that works.
Yes.
But anyway, I was like, oh, they got a 2:00 showing or a 7:00 showing. Check the tickets. There's like 3 seats left. I was like, this is usually where I sit. It's all right, but those two up there are close, but I don't know how close it is to the screen. I'll get this. This will become important. This will become important later. So I get an open seat in the back left, and then I go there way early because I want to make sure. I was like, because I've done this before. I accidentally bought a ticket for the following day, thinking it was the day that I was there, and then I wanted to make sure that I didn't buy a ticket for Project Hail Mary for like next Monday. I want to make sure it's today, otherwise.
Dude,
so anyway, I get there.
It's happened to me. Yeah.
And I was at the Littleton Alamo Draft House in Littleton, and I get there, and it was just me and the guy working behind the counter. His name is Jake, I believe. He's a cool guy. If you go to the Littleton Alamo Draft House and Jake's working there, give him a hug, shake his hand, do whatever, because he's a cool guy. But he was like, I was like, so I got this seat in the back, but there's this one over here that's kind of towards the front, but I don't know like how close it is to the screen. It's like, well, they don't have it showing yet. Come here, I'll show you. And he showed me. I'm like, oh yeah, can I switch the seat there? It's like, yeah, no problem. And the seat was like next to an open space, next to like, in case someone disabled with the wheelchair, they can back in. And I told the guy, I was like, look, I want this seat, but if someone like in a wheelchair comes with a friend, give them a ticket for one of the open seats and tell them to give that to me, and then I'll take the other open seat and their friend can sit next to them, and then everyone's happy. It's like, that's not a problem. Turned out that didn't happen, but you want to be accommodating when you can. And anyway, I got plenty of time to wait, so I'm sitting. The bar area opens at Alamo Draft House. I'm sitting there talking to the bartender there for a little bit, and then just.
Did you get any food? Did you get beer?
I got a couple beers, a few small beers, and then a queso, and that was really good.
Queso con nachos? Queso con nachos, just
Yeah,
queso?
just queso and
And what?
chips.
Oh, queso and chips. Okay.
Yeah,
You can't
yeah.
just get queso, right?
I mean,
What,
I'll take queso in a spoon. I'm good with that.
what beer did you get?
Just Coors Light because
Coors
I'm
Light.
basic. Yeah.
All right, Eric, your rating for Project Hail Mary.
Hold on, we're not we haven't gotten there yet.
Awesome. I love it.
I guarantee this whole preamble
No, I
will
love
come together and make sense.
Yes.
So I finished the beer and it's like, you want another one? I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna go out for a smoke though. So I'll do that and I'll get another beer when I come in. I come in, he gives me another beer, and there's two people sitting there. So now it's not just me and the bartender, it's me and the bartender and two other people. And one of them's talking about like how excited they are for the movie. I was like, what movie are you guys going to see? And like, Project Hail Mary. I'm like, ooh, me too. And this was Nina and Taller.
Okay.
And so Nina had read the book, Taller had not. And so he's kind of like, yeah, Nina drugged me here and blah, blah, blah. They keep talking about it. And me and Nina were just like going off about like, what do you think they're going to do? What do you think they're going to cut out? What do you think this part's going to be?
Right.
No, we're just like geeking out over it. And then
that means the third person's an odd person out because that person hadn't read the book, right? Oh, that.
Well, then their friend Alice came by, and then she had read the book because Nina had been like pestering her, and then she's like, "Fine, I'll read the book." She read the book. It's like, "Oh my God, this book's so good! I can't wait for the movie."
Just like you pestered Bruce Purkey up in the attic. You said you wouldn't give him any more food if he didn't read the book, and he ended up
exactly. It was the exact same thing as that. We're hanging out, BSing, and they're cool people. And then they go out for another smoke, and I was like, well, I'm gonna they're opening the doors. I'm gonna go out for a smoke and then go in there. Hopefully, I'll see you guys later. But if not, it was good meeting you. Like, yeah, good talking with you. So go out for a smoke, come in, sit in my seat, and then the movie's about to start in like, I don't know, 10 minutes, something like that. And then Taller comes walking by, and he sits right next to me. It's like, oh, you got the seat next to me. How about that? And I'm like, oh, this is awesome. I was like, where's Nina and Alice? And like, oh, because Nina and Alice had bought their tickets previously, and then they brought Taller in later, but then they could only find a seat next to him. So he just happened to be sitting in the seat next to me, but the seat that I changed to. So this is like perfect kismet.
Right.
And now the movie started, and we're watching the movie. And the interesting thing about this whole thing is like the whole theme of the movie, the whole point of Project Hail Mary is the friendship between Ryland Grace and Rocky, the alien that he meets along the way. And we'll get to that here in a second. But it was just like perfect kismet that I meet some new friends. And
you mentioned the word friends. What does that mean, Eric? I have to look it up on AI.
You can Google it. But we're watching a movie about new friendships, and I just met some new friends. And like this is like the perfect movie going experience. I met some new friends, and then we're watching this awesome movie about two life forms coming together and building a friend. And so that's all nice. That to say that I'm glad I met them. They're awesome people, and we got to watch an awesome movie as a result of that. And the movie was kind of like an art imitates life sort of thing, and was very exciting. So I was already excited for the movie. Sitting next to my new friend Taller, and then we're just watching the movie play out. Now, how is the movie Project Hail Mary? I've heard me talk to death about the book, and then me and Bruce recorded a Project Hail Mary about our thoughts on the book, a review on the book, and spoilers on the book.
You have talked to death about the book, I think, Eric, for the last 2 weeks, and last 2 years at least. 2 years, maybe longer than that. Not 2 weeks, but 2 years at least, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And now I'm watching the movie, and I can say I'm going to start with my biggest nitpick.
Okay.
Because everything else is glowing. So they kept everything with Rocky and Ryland when they're in space. Almost all that is intact. There's a couple of little things that they tweaked a bit. A couple scenes that like this changed a little bit, but it makes sense when you see it. It makes sense that they change it for the movie because like in the book it works, but if they did that in a movie, you'd be like, wait, no, I don't know if the geography of that quite works out.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, everything with Rocky and Ryland is intact. They do a lot of flashbacks to before the Project Hail Mary sets off, and they cut a lot of that out and changed a couple things. And my nitpick on that is that by doing that, they cut down Ava Strat's character, played by Sandra Hüller. They cut her character down a lot. And her character is amazing in the book, and her character is so good in the movie, but it's just like it's very what do you call it? Cliff Notes version of her character.
Eric, for someone like me who has not read the book,
Yes.
if that same character, would I think she's amazing having not read the book, as opposed to just a good character? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. So that's why it was good sitting next to Tuller, because he had not read the book. So when the movie's over, I looked at him and gauging his interest. He's like, that was awesome. So I guess it works. So what I'm thinking is like, of all the stuff that cuts out of the book, it doesn't detract from the story itself. It doesn't detract from the movie as a whole. Like with I Am Legend, for instance, they changed a lot of the book and did something different. And I think the movie suffers for that because there's so many ideas that were inherent to that story that they didn't have in the movie. And the movie is just a lesser version of the story. This is a Cliff Notes version of the book. So everything's there, all the emotions there, especially that they focus on Rocky and Ryland. So you get their relationship, and that works really great, especially with the puppetry of Rocky. Like anyone walking out of this movie that doesn't fall in love with Rocky, I don't understand you. That's just
well, I think not to make it even just put a downbeat thing on the situation, but for diehard fans like you of the book, Toller's reaction was someone who didn't read the book. When he said, "Wow, that's amazing," or what did he say? That's amazing. Could you have that? Remember. Did you have that same feeling, Eric, or maybe not because you already? Oh, okay.
Yes. My thoughts on it was like there were scenes that didn't come up, like the if you read the book, you know what I'm talking about. If you don't, that's fine. But like the Antarctica scene's not there. There's a courtroom scene from the book that's not there. I was really missing that.
Okay.
That was a great scene in the book.
Was it necessary for the movie, Eric? That the fact that it cut it?
No,
okay.
not with the movie they made, because the movie they made was very, very laser focused on Rocky and Ryland's friendship. And so all the stuff they cut from the book didn't really add to that friendship. It was good for the book. It was good to inform like certain characters on Earth, their status and their character, but it's not the story they were telling in the movie. So you have to let that go. But the book still exists. So you watch the movie. So if you're someone that hasn't read the book, you watch the movie and go, that was great. Now you can go back and read the book, and there is a whole bunch of stuff that you're going to be able to discover on top of what you already love about the movie.
Well, in fairness, Eric, not again, there will be people who've read the book who will not take as great of an opinion as you, right? Are they going to nitpick even more, meaning, still a good movie, but man, the book is a masterpiece. You see what I'm saying?
I think the stuff that they cut out was more, it would have been cool to see that, but it didn't detract from the movie. It wasn't like, they cut that scene out from the book, therefore the story doesn't work. It's not like that. It's just like, I wish this was in there because it would have been cool to see, but it doesn't take away from the story. It's not like a missing piece that makes the bridge fall down, if that makes sense.
Project Hail Mary, your prediction this weekend. I'm clueless. I apologize, Eric. You've been reading up on Project Hail Mary. Why are people able to see it now? You were able to see it on that, what did you say, the Monday? Or are there early screenings up to Friday's release? I'm a moron on this.
I think they had some early screenings just
spread out
in general on Monday. I didn't know about it until Monday, and they just happened to have some seats open, so I jumped on it.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
Oh, you literally jumped. I mean, yes. Whoa.
Yeah, I probably should have started with this. Project Hail Mary is a story about a guy that wakes up and he's got amnesia on a spaceship. He doesn't know why he's there or what he's doing. And throughout the movie, he starts to have flashbacks of his time on Earth and comes to realize, I'm on a mission to save the world because the sun's dying because of this stuff called astrophage, the single-celled organism that takes energy from the sun, goes to Venus, and then comes back to the sun, and then so on and so forth. They got to figure out why that does it. They look at the stars around, so many stars around our general area, relative area, light years away, but relatively close to us. The other stars are being affected, except one in Tau Ceti. They got to go to Tau Ceti to figure out why. How do they get to Tau Ceti? It's 11 light years away. oh, they found astrophage. Apparently, astrophage is makes great fuel, and so they can get too close to the speed of light, and it would still take 11, actually probably 14 years to get there, but relative time for the astronauts would be 4 years because of time dilation. Ryland Grace wakes up. Two of his three, well, he's the third crew member. Two of them are dead. He's the only one alive. And then he runs into Rocky, and Rocky's there. He finds out Rocky's there for the exact same reason he is. The star in his solar system's dying, and he came there, and they just met each other. So now Rocky and Ryland Grace have to learn to first communicate with each other because they're two different alien species that don't share culture or language. And they got to learn each other's language, learn each other's kind of intricacies, and learn to work together to figure out the problem and whether or not they can save their own planets. That's the basic story. But the takeaway is that Rocky and Ryland's relationship is absolutely a joy to watch. All the flashbacks inform you of why he's there, how they got the information to figure out what astrophage is, how they solve problems. There's one question that looms throughout is Ryland Grace is a school teacher. He's a science teacher. What the hell is he doing on there? Even in the flashbacks, he's helping, but he's not part of the crew. What happened? As the flashbacks go on, you eventually find out. If you read the book, you already know. But yeah, this is 2.5 hours. I could use a 5-hour version of this and then add in all the scenes from the book that I mentioned. As it is, this is really good. James Ortiz, who puppets and does the voice of Rocky, is great. I have to look this up. I think there's a vocal cameo by a actor. And I think and any fans of the audiobook, I believe there was a vocal cameo by Ray Porter. I could be wrong about that. But there was one particular actor cameo that voices Rocky briefly, and that cameo was really good. The movie's equal parts harrowing and funny. It'll get you teared up. It'll get you crying sometimes, and not like sad cries. Maybe some sad cries, a couple sad cries, but also a couple happy cries. And fans of the book, the ending is tweaked slightly. You'll see it when you see it, but I think you'll like the certain tweak that they made.
Okay.
Yeah, 6.9. There were some things that I would have liked to seen from the book that weren't there, but the book exists. I can read it again, and I want to watch the movie 100 more times. I love this movie. I love the people that I met during the movie, and that just kind of made the experience even better. And I could not have asked for a better movie watching partners, and a movie to watch that with my movie watching partners that I did. That sentence almost didn't make sense, but there you go.
That's awesome. Well, 6.9 stars from Eric Holmes. As far as top films of the year, currently, as of this recording, March 18th on 2026, where does Project Hail Mary stack on Eric Holmes' top 10 of the year of 2026? Very early, I know, but where is it right now? Off the top.
We got the group, the Schopenhauer Effect. We got Santa Zeta, and we got Project Hail Mary. Thankfully, I'm so glad this didn't go I mean, if I watch it a couple more times, maybe Psycho Killer sneaks.
Get out of here. But at least you're liking it more than you did before, right?
No, Psycho Killer is still a bad movie, but it's becoming a bad movie that I was disappointed into a bad movie that's like, I don't know, this kind of becoming a guilty pleasure at this point.
Exactly. I'm glad it's becoming a guilty pleasure. I think what's interesting, Eric, is you've seen Project Hail Mary once. I would like to see how you feel about it a second time, even though I know it's one of your top films of the year. You might even like it even more the second time because you're just taking. So. Yeah.
Well, so also that's another thing. This movie goes fast. There's like a lot of information. Like, even though they cut a bunch of stuff out of the book, they kept a ton of stuff from the book. But in doing that, they got to fast forward a lot of that. So someone that hasn't read the book, there might be certain things that they go through quick, or you might be like, wait, that doesn't make sense, or how did they figure that out so quick? That's when you go back and read the book, and then now it'll flesh out or explain certain things. Granted, a movie should work on its own, but what was I cannot remember now. What was it? Hold the Dark. There's certain parts of Hold the Dark, the movie, that kind of, as a movie, kind of leaves you scratching your head a bit. But then if you read the book, it would explain those parts. But there's certain parts in the book that leave you scratching your head, but you watch the movie and then fills in those gaps.
Oh, got
Like
it.
Hold the
Yeah.
Dark book and Hold the Dark movie kind of work in tandem. I think Project Hail Mary is kind of a similar situation where like the book's great, the movie's great, but you put them together and it's like a perfect marriage. They work in tandem just as well as they do separate.
That is very cool. That is Eric's really long AF review of
And also,
Project Hail Mary.
Tuller,
I loved it. What?
and
Oh,
also Tuller, Nina, Alice, it was great meeting you, and you guys made my movie experience even better. Who knows? This could have been a 5 out of 5, but because of you guys, you pushed it up to a 6.9 out of 5.
wow. That's very cool. That is Eric Holmes, co-host over at CinemAddicts, making friends. Unfortunately, people like me and Bruce Purkey, we don't make. Well, I'm kidding. Bruce Purkey makes friends.
Well, Bruce is stuck in an attic.
That's true. What are you gonna What are you gonna do with Bruce Purkey? But great job, Eric Holmes, on Project Hail Mary. I am going to apologize because you're gonna keep on yapping about. I wanted to go with this theme of space. There's this documentary called Spacewoman. I told Eric yesterday. I go, hey, try to get Spacewoman in before the podcast so we can do maybe a review of Spacewoman. I told Eric to do that, or I requested it, and I still haven't seen it, and I have to do interviews tomorrow. So that's on my bad on Spacewoman. I will get a review somehow, somewhere, one of these days, because I have to do the review tomorrow on Thursday with the director and Eileen Collins. But Spacewoman, here is the official plot summary of this documentary. Yes, sir. Yes.
Before we go, I got one more thing about Project Hail Mary.
Of course,
and I cannot believe I forgot this.
No.
So what do I do for my day job, Greg?
Oh, you do DJ stuff? You do stuff like that, and then you
karaoke.
Yeah.
There's a really big karaoke scene in Project Hail Mary that is not in the book. I think the filmmakers were like, "Ooh, Eric seems to like this. Let's put a karaoke scene in there for him." Sorry, I can't believe I forgot to mention that, but yeah, I should have. But anyway, speaking of Spaceman, we should talk about Spacewoman.
Oh, Spacewoman, of course. Yeah, Spacewoman. I can't wait to see, by the way, Project Hail Mary. Anyways, astronaut Eileen Collins was the first woman to plot and command an American spacecraft. Born on the other side of the tracks in upstate New York, she smashed many glass ceilings in the U.S. Air Force and at NASA throughout her career, culminating in 4 dramatic and dangerous space shuttle missions. With an incredible set of archival materials, intimate interviews, and a moving score by, I cannot pronounce the name, Marcelo Zarvos, Hannah Berryman's nail-biting film, Hannah Berryman is the filmmaker, nail-biting film shares the emotional journey experienced by Eileen's family and explores what level of risk is acceptable in human endeavor. Specifically lands in theaters Friday, March 20th. Eric, take it away. Maybe I know two different projects, but it's space, right? Spacewoman. How was this documentary? Did it hit you in the fields, or was it informative? Was it both? Was it neither? What was it for you?
Well, first of all, Eileen Collins is a complete badass. I love her. It starts off with her being a woman growing up in a man's world, and she wants to become an astronaut, specifically a commander of a spacecraft, and her path to success is not easy. In fact, a lot of it has been unforged for women, so she has to forge it herself. And then it's kind of like one of those, the first woman doing a thing, they always have more hurdles than men in certain areas. And
Elise Guy Blanchet, I remember.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the Alice.
Alice.
But anyway, so she's already got bigger hurdles than men have to jump through. Some men don't have any hurdles compared to what she has. But this is a story we've heard. Unfortunately, we've heard a lot because our society's sexist. Less so now than it was, but still not perfect. But anyway, as she gets through those hurdles, she's finally able to become an astronaut. And there's still about an hour and 10 minutes left of the movie. So it's like, what's the rest of it going to be? Well, the thing about being an astronaut is astronauts are scientists. They're also problem solvers. So once you get on the ship, that's just the beginning of your journey. You still got to get off the planet. You still got to deal with the certain problems that arise and correct for them. And on top of that, she has a family now. and she has a daughter that's worried about her. And she tries to say, no, it's fine. We got a lot of smart people working. Challenger blows up. Oh yeah, don't worry about that, but we'll figure that out. So she's got to balance her home life with the being an astronaut. And they remember that movie A Million Miles Away.
Mm-hmm. But I forgot what the name of the movie was. That the name of the movie? But yeah, it's Michael.
Yeah, I think it was
Michael
A Million
Pena.
Miles Away.
Okay.
Yeah, Michael Pena. Like how he was trying to become an astronaut, and
Over
then
the
he becomes
years.
an astronaut, and then even then, this is the documentary version of that.
Oh wow, because that's a great film. That's an underrated film.
It
Oh
is.
wow.
And so this like is great as Million Miles Away is with its narrative feature based on a real person, but this is a documentary also obviously based on a real person. So you get to watch Eileen Collins kind of navigate becoming an astronaut, being an astronaut, balancing that with home life. There's a certain, was it Challenger, and there was another spaceship that exploded shortly after that, and I can't remember the name of it. And now she has a daughter that's worried for her. She's trying to assure her daughter that everything's going to be fine. Meanwhile, those tragedies happen, and trying to mitigate that. The he's just kind of like laid back. He's a Air Force pilot, or he's a pilot of some sort, and he stays on the ground. He's trying to hold down the family. And it's just constantly Eileen Collins working on different problems, trying to solve problems, all doing it like she's got a constant kind of mantra of don't panic. You might be scared. Don't show it, because what's that going to help? You need to stay focused on the problem, because if you're panicking, you're not going to be able to solve the problem. You can stay focused on the problem. You might be able to solve it.
Dumb question. Do you agree with that mindset?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
I mean, hey, if your ship's falling apart, what's panicking going to do?
Right.
Nothing. If you focus on the problem, maybe you fix it, maybe you don't, but at least you got a fighting chance. If you're panicking, you're not doing anything. If you're focused, at least you're doing something. So that seems to be her kind of thought on that. And then, yeah, I would say the tension and the stuff that she has to contend with goes up right until the end, even to the point of her possibly damaging her relationship with her daughter. And then that comes to a head or a resolution, and it's really good. It started off as a documentary that's like, look, Eileen Collins is a badass, but I've seen this story many times before. What's so different about this? And then they show me what's different about it. I'm like, oh, okay, go on. I'm interested now.
Okay, this is very cool. I apologize for not even getting this review in time for CinemAddicts. Thank you, Eric, for getting this review in on time. Spacewoman, final thoughts and rating on this seemingly wonderful documentary. Very informative.
Yeah, this is again, it starts off exactly what you think it is, but ends up a lot more different. And of course, the problem solving illustrates what it's like to be a scientist, what it's like to be an astronaut. So as Eileen Collins would say, if you're not there, you don't know, but at least now you got a pretty good idea. And I think that does this well. Oh, what to give it?
I might get emotional watching this. This is if you said it's...
You might. There's definitely a couple scenes where, like, I mean, they're interviewing her, which looks like pretty, I don't know if it's present day, but it looks like the quality of the camera looks like it's better than what it was when they shot it. So you figure she's gonna be okay, but there's still some stuff where it's like touch and go, like, oh god, I don't know.
Yeah,
I think I'll go 5 stars on this.
Wow, Eric.
Had it had a talking rock alien, maybe would have been maybe it would have been the 6.9, but
5 stars is 5 stars.
And on top of that, this is coming out. You got Project Hail Mary coming out. Double feature them. I don't know how they keep doing this, but double feature the two.
Double feature Spacewoman and Project Hail Mary. Great work from Eric Holmes for Spacewoman and Project Hail Mary. Again, Project Hail Mary gets... Yes.
I would say this movie touched me.
Oh, okay. Eric's trying to go for his segue. He's trying to... What is he doing? He's had a couple of good movies. Let's go to the third and last movie. And finally, I get to do some work here on CinemAddicts. Eric's been doing all the bleeping work all episode. My bad on this. There's a movie called Touch Me. I will say this about this film. I can honestly say this is not going to be watch Project Hail Mary, watch Spacewoman, and then watch. Wait a second. Possibly? Could it be
It
the
is
back to
about
back?
Alien, isn't it?
It is about an alien. That's not a spoiler. Okay, let me get to the plot synopsis very quickly. The official one. Quote, a wacky, wild, sensual homage to Japanese exploitation films. Touch Me centers on two cringy millennials. I didn't think they were that cringy. They were okay. They were best of friends. There's Joey. She's played by Olivia Taylor-Dudley. She's the main character in this movie. And then her best friend is Craig, played by Jordan. What is it? Jordan Gavaris? I think I misspelled his name. Really, Gavaris? I think I misspelled his name. Okay, right, Gavaris. Good job, Eric. So Joey and Craig. Joey, Olivia Taylor-Dudley. Craig, Jordan Gavaris. Now, they live together. They're happy. They're besties. Craig has all the money. She lives off of Craig and his domicile. And a lot of times they're layabouts. Joey finds it hard to get a job. That's the whole background of this. One day she met a very charismatic, electric, magnetic individual. Seems like he's a man. The man's name is Brian, played by Lou Taylor Pucci. Here's the catch. At the beginning, you realize Brian is not a man. Brian is an alien with a mission on Earth. That mission on Earth is to possibly help with the Earth is not doing so well with its conservation and the green with plants. He wants to bring a little bit more life to Earth. At least that's what he says in his mission statement. Bottom line is Brian is attracted to Joey. Joey realizes that, well, even though their coitus, let's just say coitus, family show, their coitus might be really interesting and good and hot, he's still an alien. And he poses a really big threat to her. And who knows, maybe he poses a threat to other people. So the rest of Touch Me deals with Joey and Craig ultimately spend some time over at Brian's beautiful house somewhere. It's just a very nice house, mansion type house. And the rest of the movie deals with how they are domesticating themselves within his house. And then he also has a helper. I forgot who the helper is, but she is also a mysterious woman who has possibly the secrets to what Brian is really thinking in his head. And this movie it's just a weird movie. It's by director-writer Addison Hayman. It's an interesting film, and I mean this in the best of ways. I feel like this movie will get a better reaction when I see it a second time, because the first reaction was I was pleasantly surprised at how weird and off-kilter this was. For an indie film, it looked really pretty. The production design was really good. You have to think, a lot of the movie is set in this house, and it's still a visually immersive film. The acting from Lou Taylor Pucci as the alien is fantastic. And this is a movie that will easily not be for everyone, but for people who glom onto this type of, it says here, psychosexual horror comedy, right? If you can glom onto that vibe, if you're into this vibe train that Touch Me is all about, I have a feeling this might be one of these movies that you will really enjoy. I don't know about you, Eric. What did you think of Touch Me?
So I saw the alien character. Was it Brian, the alien creature?
Yeah.
Not really humanoid, but he can look like a humanoid at times, I guess.
Yeah.
But he was kind of like a shaman, or almost like a religious leader.
Right.
But also you have sex with him, you touch his skin, and then it gives you like a heroin kind of high and addiction. So it seems like it's playing with like cult followers and addiction, and how those two kind of marry and are very similar. But it doesn't do it in a heavy-handed way. It does it in a, hey, we're gonna be a weird freaking movie kind of way. With like I mean, first of all, like the movie itself, the look of it changes often. Sometimes you get it look like maybe like a Wes Anderson movie, and other times it looks like I don't know, what's a good example? Like the guy that did Drive. What the hell's his name?
Oh, Nicholas Winding Refn.
Yeah, it looks like maybe it's Nicholas Winding Refn movie. Other times it looks like it could be David Lynch movie. The look and feel almost switches genres or styles throughout. So that's fun, but it's sort of that also the sugar that helps the medicine go down of what it's really saying. But
yes.
I do think for some people this might be a little too weird, that they might not catch on to the message right away. But it's just weird enough that they might come back to it and go, oh, let's see that again. oh wait, hold on. They're they're trying to tell me something here. That's something. I'd be lying if I didn't say I didn't enjoy the random dance numbers that they do. They're just like, hey, we got to go outside and dance for no reason at all. That part's pretty cool. And then the
Right.
ending gets I
Weird.
think the ending, I got a little confused there, and I don't know if we're doing a spoiler or not, but if we did, I would have some questions there. But again, this is also one of those movies that will pay dividends on a rewatch because
Hmm.
I think the weirdness and the outside the box thinking they do in this movie is really interesting and really fun to watch, but it might throw you off a little bit. So
Yeah.
which not a big deal. You just go back and watch it again, and then you start picking up stuff that you probably missed the first time, just because the first time you watch it, you're like, "What the hell even is this?"
Right. Well, I'll tell you, Eric, the alien world building in Touch Me is very interesting, but it's also very confusing. So there's going to be people who watch Touch Me and will be saying, "Oh, well, I don't understand this. It's not spelled out for me. It's just too freaky and I'm not into it." So it's going to turn off a bunch of people that way because they might not understand a lot of the dynamics. There will be other people who will say, "Well, this movie is really weird and I sort of like it. And I might
Yeah,
not get everything about it, but I like what this filmmaker is trying to go for. And it's sort of my style or sort of my speed." So this is going to be a very divisive film. I'm on one of those people where it's just the vibe I was in. It felt like a very handmade film. This is the filmmaker. What he did was he had something in his head and he put it directly on paper, and that those
and
words
the
went
paper said, "Ooh, get off me!"
exactly. And then that paper, after saying, "Ooh, get off me," went exactly to film or digital or whatever. It just feels, I'm sure with every film there's compromise, but this feels like a very handmade film that didn't have a lot of compromise. It felt like that to me. It just felt like a very specialized film that will draw many people out, but draw people in as well. I don't know. So my rating for Touch Me, and I'm gonna bake in an upcoming second viewing. This is a baked in rating. 4 stars for me for Touch Me. Really love the stylized vision of this movie. I may not have gotten everything what this movie is all about, but Eric said there is a little bit of a hidden message behind Touch Me. Does not detract from the entertainment value of this movie. Again, this movie is an acquired taste. That taste really was acquired by me. I like that. But Eric, your final thought and rating on Touch Me.
I'm currently at 4.5. I think a
Okay.
rewatch is going to go up. That I mean, this could easily go up to 6.9, but at the moment it's 4.5. But
Yes.
I kind of want to split the difference and just give it 5 stars. But who
It's good.
knows? Maybe a rewatch might make me dislike it a little more. But it was I will say this movie is not boring. There's
Mhm.
just absolutely not boring. This movie's like insane and weird, and I kind of loved it while I was watching it. And I think if I watch it again, I would just love it more.
Right.
So
Eric, this Touch Me, they're not trying to appeal to the people at the back of
no,
the
no,
room.
no,
At
no,
the
no,
It's
no.
not trying to do that. They're
The
trying to
filmmaker's like, this is the movie you get. I love it. If you don't, if you love it too, great, come aboard. If not, kick rocks. There's other movies over there you can watch.
Yeah, if
Which
not, give me your money and then kick rocks, right? Give
I
me
mean,
your,
you have to respect that kind of
of
thought
course.
process going into a movie like this. But I was like, you know what? 5 stars. I just talked myself into it.
And Eric, okay, I'm glad you gave it 5 stars. Okay, I'm gonna send it to you later. I don't know if I already sent it to you. I gotta find it. I asked the director, Addison Hyman, writer director, about the ending of Touch Me, and I have a read. We won't get to spoilers because it's just so confusing. The ending. It's interesting. You have your read. I have my read. I asked him about the ending, and the ending he gave me was I had no idea. I had no idea where that came from. So I misread the ending. So we're gonna have the ending for our Patreon listeners, and you're gonna check it out. Okay. So I'm gonna send you that. I think you might be blown away what he says about the ending of Touch Me. All right. So we'll get to that in a few
Did,
moments.
did it did it touch you?
It did touch me in all the right places because we're a family show. All right. So Touch Me is exclusively in theaters starting March 20th in New York. And then Eric is going, and then limited release March 27th. And please, this is he's doing massage, very
I,
G-rated
I'm
massage,
kind
folks.
of popping my back. It's all right.
Digital and on demand, April 2nd. That Touch Me. 5 stars from Eric Holmes. 4 stars from me. Bruce Purkey is going to give it 6.9 stars. And don't listen to Bruce Purkey's review of Touch Me. I don't know what it's going to be. Just don't listen to it. But Bruce Purkey will be coming up pretty soon over on CinemAddicts. And he has a whole bunch of stuff. He hasn't recorded yet, okay? Because we're recording on this Wednesday. You guys are getting, most of you guys are getting this on Friday. And then Patreon members, you get it a day earlier, Thursday. But as of this Google Doc, we have several movies that Bruce Purkey will be covering. HBO Max's Fukushima, A Nuclear Nightmare. It's a documentary. And I don't know I think it's Louis Theroux. Louis Theroux Inside the Manosphere. That's a Netflix project, I think. That's Bruce's going to review. And then finally, Bruce has his own take on Touch Me. Eric and I enjoy Touch Me so much. I just have a feeling Bruce might go the other way, which is fine. This is different strokes for different folks, right? So, yeah.
It kind of makes me think it did like 3-star banger. I'm gonna stick with 5, but Touch Me is definitely like a movie I could have given a 3-star banger. Like if you're in, you are in. And
yes,
if you're not,
exactly.
It's not going to have a lot of crossover appeal, we'll say.
Yes. But, you mentioned it's going to be, I think there is going to be a cult status with Touch Me for people who will be able to discover Touch Me, right? Yeah. Very interesting stuff.
3 movies that are space or alien adjacent. The lowest score I gave it is 5.
Right.
Triple feature, Touch Me, Spacewoman, and Project Hail Mary. It'll be a good day at the movies.
Right. Even though each one is very vastly different from one another, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that weird on a Friday? Well, unfortunately, Eric, people in New York are going to be the only ones available who can see Touch Me, because I think Touch Me is exclusively in New York. So if you are in New York, you can do the back-to-back-to-back. If you're not, then at least you can do Spacewoman.
Get there early, have a couple drinks, meet a new friend, and then go sit and watch Touch Me with them and say, hey, friend, that movie was awesome. Let's go watch Project Hail Mary together. Oh, that movie was also awesome. Let's go watch Spacewoman together. The perfect movie-going day that you could possibly have.
This is so funny because Eric Holmes, he just talked about his Alamo Drafthouse experience. Last time I think what I usually do is I don't go to the bar or I don't order drinks or food, but I actually do order food. I do have maybe just a couple, like a soda. And then instead of hanging out at the bar and waiting to just meet people or hang out with the workers there, I used to do that when I was younger. I'm such a antisocial human being. I have all that food brought to me while I'm sitting in the theater in a dark corner by myself. Don't talk to me. Don't talk to me. But unfortunately, my local theater, they don't do that anymore. They don't. So I might have to actually mingle with the locals, Eric. I might have to deign my presence to other people and actually talk about myself and talk about other people. It might be a good thing. I don't know. What do you think, Eric? Yeah.
It's good. It's good times. You meet some good people that way.
Okay. Very good.
I got to meet Caller, Nina, and Ellis in that way. I wouldn't not have met them otherwise had I just been sitting in my corner stewing like popcorn.
Well, screw Eric, screw that friendship. Most importantly, did you get them on board of CinemAddicts to listen to our podcast? I hope they do. All 3 of them. You better. Yeah. See,
that's where you shine because I'm terrible.
That's where I shine. Yeah. Eric says he's terrible at that. Eric's better at organic human interaction, where I'm the glad-hander here, which is accurate. Very, very accurate, Eric Holmes. But hopefully down the road.
Listen to podcasts? Oh yeah, that's right. I'm on one. Listen to it if you want.
CinemAddicts listeners, can you just hit up Eric Holmes? Tell him to be more of a glad-hander and inauthentic person like me and less of a real person. Tell Eric Holmes it's not good to be a real person and make friends like people do in Project Hail Mary. I don't know what you guys are learning about this whole cinematic situation. We're out of here. Bruce Purkey in a few moments. Eric, we're gonna lead off with you before we get out of here.
Hopefully, first of all, Taller, Nina, Alice, great meeting you guys. If you're watching this, if not, still great meeting you guys. And possibly, I haven't got word from Bruce yet, but we did that Project Hail Mary about the book. So hopefully me and Bruce will, after Bruce sees Project Hail Mary, maybe we'll do a similar thing, but for the movie, just go through like all the spoilers and I would have sat on the movie for a bit and maybe saw it again. We'll see, but
cool.
Yeah, we'll see. That's up to Bruce and what kind of time he has, but hopefully we'll be able to do something with that.
Hopefully we will, because Bruce is sometimes just too busy for us. He's up there in his high throne, or I guess in the attic. I think you bred this person. He's been hostage for several years, but he's gotten big head up in the attic. Are you feeding him something?
I mean,
what?
He kind of had it coming.
All right, guys, tell us what you think of any of these three movies, and thank you so much for supporting us here over at CinemAddicts. And then, wait, we're not done yet. For some more insightful movie reviews, check out Bruce Purkey over at the CinemAttic.
Welcome to the CinemAttic, the attic of cinema, where I come down to the real world once a week and talk to you about some of the movies I saw the previous week. And this week, I've got one screener and then three movies that were released very recently. So for most of you, there will be new releases as well. But only one of them is a true screener, brand new movie that is in the theaters or streaming for you, depending on when you are hearing this. Okay, the screener this week is Touch Me. And then we also have two documentaries, Louis Theroux, Inside the Manosphere. And we also have Fukushima, A Nuclear Nightmare. And then last but not least, we have the Oscar-nominated Palme d'Or winner, It Was Just an Accident. All right, let's get to it. Let's start with Touch Me. Touch Me is directed by Addison Heiman. I'm not sure how to say it. Starring it's really a four-hander. Oh, this is also, I thought this was directed by Benson and Moorhead of The Endless and Spring. I was wrong about that. They are one of the producing crew of Touch Me. So they definitely, I guess, have given it their stamp of approval to some degree. And it does have some cosmic horror elements to it. Touch Me is, like I said, a four-hander. The main characters are Joey, and Joey's a woman. Joey, played by Olivia Taylor-Dudley. You've got, you've got the Brian, played by Lou Taylor-Pucci. You've got Craig, played by Jordan Gavaris. And Laura, played by Marlene Forte. The only person of this cast that I recognized was the bad guy playing Brian, Lou Taylor-Pucci. Now, I knew him as the kind of the hippie surfer dude from the series Physical. And he is really, really good in that and steals a lot of scenes and kind of comic doofus sort of a role. And here, he brings some of the energy here as well. And when I saw him at first, I was like, I know that guy. And he was that guy. So, basic concept is Joey, at the very beginning of the movie, we almost get like a, 5, maybe 10 minutes? No, it's probably about 5 minutes. And it's nearly a monologue because she's just staring right at the screen. She's at her therapist and she's talking about what has occurred to her. And essentially she goes in this long story. And you're going to see why I'm getting at this, because this is the bonkers concept of this movie. And it could be considered a spoiler, but it's not, because it literally is what opens the movie. And she tells her therapist how she had met this man. She thought he was cute, odd. He wore a tracksuit, which seemed not a very current day look. Tracksuit. He eventually turned out to be not a multidimensional, but he ended up being an alien. I mean, an actual alien who gave her such interdimensional lovemaking experiences, such blissful experiences, that she found herself intoxicated by him, not necessarily in love, but definitely intoxicated and addicted to him. And that only changed when one of their sessions was so dangerous to her because she started to feel physically hot, and she felt like she was going to literally be blown up by the experience of having tentacle love with this alien, hentai style. And that forced her to run away from his compound and leave him behind. That's the opening of this movie. And you're like, well, is this movie going to really be about that? It's going to be about how she is deluded and making up these crazy experiences. But of course, if you've seen the trailer or any part of this movie, you know that, well, that is the premise of the movie. You very quickly meet her roommate and named Craig, and Craig and her kind of have been long-suffering, I guess, roommates / partners, both in their 20s, both barely making it. Kind of seems like probably what would be the stereotypical like roommate situation, maybe in LA or something, where everybody's trying to get their grind on and barely kind of surviving and wallowing in each other's failures and attempts at success, that kind of thing. Craig is a gay guy, and he's very much having a dry spell and not doing very well. And Joey, of course, is still just trying to get over this experience she had with the tracksuit alien dude. And the two of them will really commiserate with each other over these experiences. And a lot of it's done in a very humorous, goofy, and that's okay. Let's get at that right now. The overall tone of this movie is very goofy and very silly. So if you're going to get down with the vibe of Touch Me, you have to get into the silly goofiness of the whole thing. And it knows it. It's not like it thinks it's not that. It is that, definitely. But there's a level of, I don't know how to describe it. There's a level of empathy for the characters that, for me, really worked and allowed me to draw into it. Part of it is because at certain points in the movie, it does a surprising thing where it gets to some real trauma that all of these characters, well, especially the two main characters of Craig and Joey, it gets into the trauma that they have that really has driven them. And you wouldn't think in a movie like that it would get even deep at all. So it does get deep enough to let those characters like have some real heartache and some pain in their past that kind of lead them to these sort of self-destructive behaviors. And of course you could say, oh, it's a metaphor for destructive relationships and addictive behaviors and all that kind of stuff, which it certainly is. But also at its heart, it's just a weird, goofy, like romantic triangle sex comedy, also making fun of cults and guru cult-like behavior and adoration, as well as being a bit of an alien cosmic horror movie. So anyway, these two, of course, they're just wallowing in their own misery, barely making it, living in an apartment or a house, I guess it is, but they say they own it. Maybe it's a condo. Either way, Craig is living off of his dad's money, but that's drying up and things just aren't going well. And one day they wake up and the bathroom shower is exploding with excrement. They, of course, don't have enough money to fix that. Their house is basically unlivable because of it. And she has recently re-encountered Tracksuit Guy and is trying to avoid the temptation of going back to this destructive but intoxicating relationship. But when all else is said and done, she takes Craig with her. And of course, they go back to the fancy hillside LA type compound. And so begins the weirdo experience that they have as a group with the very intoxicating and weirdo Brian the alien, who looks like a hippie guru type guy. Also, I will mention another part of this is if you remember in Ex Machina, the weird dance scene, this has many versions of that in this movie because tracksuit alien tentacle guy loves to do his hip hop dance routines. I know this sounds just stupid. It is, but if it works for you, which it did for me, then it's stupid in a good way, not in a bad way. And I found myself really enjoying the silliness and the humor and the characters of this movie. All the characters were fun to go with. I mean, there are secrets that alien tentacle dude guy has. Brian, he has his own secrets. You find out in a lot of ways he's as broken in his own quote unquote universe as Craig and Joey are. And then to top it all off, you have Laura, which I barely mentioned. Laura is it's like Brian's live-in housekeeper, I guess. She's a middle-aged, kind of older lady. She's probably like in her late 40s, 50s, and the opposite of all them. Like everybody else in this is like conventionally some version of good-looking and fit. She's just like your average middle-aged lady, white lady, not super sculpted or anything, just there. And she, of course, is secretly in love with Brian as well, because everyone's in love with Brian. If you're riddled with anxiety, Brian can just touch your face, make it glow and go away, and do many other things too, because he loves to have what does he call it? Species intercourse or whatever. He calls some term, he always says it like, let's have interspecies intercourse or whatever he calls it. And he does his whole like cosmic thing. So Laura is also really interesting too, because she has her own motivations, and of course that comes into play, and it becomes this, instead of a love slash obsession triangle, it ends up becoming a love obsession square. I just had a lot of fun with this movie. The characters were always interesting, even though not a lot happens as far as they don't go and do a lot of things. It's mostly at this compound, probably, I don't know, of the 90 minutes or however long this is, maybe like 70 minutes of it is at this compound. But it doesn't matter because I'm always interested in the weirdness that's going on between all these characters. I found it genuinely funny quite a bit. And it also is genuinely gross in a few spots with a fair amount of practical effects. There was more gore in this than I expected. And the gore, of course, is played for mostly laughs as well. But it does add just a level of threat to this alien. He's not just pretending to be this guru guy, because everyone knows he's not. It's just a very odd film. And it's one of those movies that easily could have become odd for odd's sake. But I don't feel like it does that. I don't think it's like, ooh, look how weird we're being. I think it is genuinely a weird movie. And it feels like genuinely a movie where someone wanted to work through these issues and they just picked a really unusual kind of metaphor to use for it and just really went with it. And I really enjoyed that aspect of it. And I think it's written and directed by the same person. So I think that all kind of scans. I'm going to go 4 stars for Touch Me. I could do a spoiler section on this, but honestly, I don't think there's a lot to gain from the spoilers. I mean, there is stuff that you will be surprised by. I mean, certain things will happen to certain characters, but I don't think it's like it reveals a bunch of stuff as far as like what I could mull over, like theme-wise, or what's going on here, or really that kind of stuff with spoilers in this movie. But I do think there are some surprises about what turns will happen with the characters it's fun to experience in the movie. I think some people are going to be really, really either hate this movie and they're going to be like, this is going to be one of those movies where you suggest it to somebody incorrectly and they're going to be like, why did you like this stupid movie? This is one of the dumbest movies I've ever seen. It's one of those kind of movies. And then other people will be like, this was right up my alley and I just loved the vibe and it was just dumb and silly in all the right ways and actually not near as dumb as it looks from the outside. It's actually smart and wisely funny in the way it's approaching things. I really enjoyed Touch Me. 4 stars. Okay, next up we got 2 documentaries. One's on HBO, and that is Fukushima, A Nuclear Nightmare. I'm going to go really quickly on both these documentaries, but they're both really solid. In fact, both I would say are 3.5 stars, good watches, perfect for a streaming service. Fukushima, A Nuclear Nightmare is now on HBO Max and directed by Megumi Inman and James Jones. If you know anything about the whole earthquake, tsunami, and all that stuff that happened back in 2000 and, I didn't look up the date. I want to say 2013. I could be wrong. You also know that there was the near meltdown of the Fukushima power plants right in that same area. If you're also like me, even though they've had like a dramatic miniseries about it, I think, which I have not seen, if you're like me, you probably still don't know as much about the Fukushima disaster as you do about the tsunamis and the earthquake. And I've seen like so much tsunami footage. It's kind of those weird things where I'll just go down rabbit holes and watch all the footage from that day. But you still don't have a lot about Fukushima. You see these kind of hazy, blurry, short videos of the reactor buildings blowing up. And that's not good. But you know that it almost went to a full meltdown, but you're not sure exactly how it survived or how bad it got or how bad it nearly got. And it ends up being a story that's very similar to something like Chernobyl, which actually ended up being worse. But amazingly, Fukushima wasn't worse because it should have been worse than Chernobyl. But if you've seen things like Chernobyl, 3 Mile Island, China Syndrome, Fukushima, A Nuclear Nightmare, which is a documentary, like I said, will give you a similar look into the nuts and bolts of what went down over about a week period, mostly. Pretty much about a week from that tsunami and earthquake, things escalated to an insane degree. And just the bravery and the luck of what occurred between the people who were still inside that plant for that whole time, what they endured and what they did to basically keep a major disaster from occurring is quite amazing. It also kept reminding me of things like, I don't know, Apollo 13 or something. Things where you have these technologies that you think are super advanced, but when you find out about a disaster that happens in one of these technologies, you discover how kind of rudimentary some of these things we consider super advanced really are. Like in Apollo 13, these guys are just, how are they making it to the moon and back, and how are they surviving in space and getting back to Earth with what little technology they actually had? This is similar. Like there's a point in this documentary when you find out they essentially will lose all the power to the power plant. Everything. They're in total darkness. They can't even monitor what's happening inside the core to know if it's pressurizing, building pressure, getting hotter, getting more radiation release. They don't know. They have no clue. And just the fact of like, how are they going to get the control data panels back online? Like, what are they going to do to that? I'm not going to tell you what they do, but what they do is so rudimentary. And so it's one of those things where you say like, that's what they had to do to try to keep things going. Oh my gosh. So I think it was pretty fascinating for me. If you're interested in the subject and you're interested in the event, it's definitely a worthwhile watch. And they get some great insider information from people who were there at the time, including I forget what they call it's not the president of Japan. I forget what they call him. Is it the prime minister? I forget. Whatever the leader of Japan is called. Here's my American terrible lack of knowledge. He had a memoir, and in his memoir, he went into pretty great detail about his side of things during that time period. So you get like all these different points of view of the events, including several of the people that were inside of it, which gives you a little bit of hope because you know that at least every person who was inside there didn't die, which that could have very easily happened too. And there's a whole thing about that in the movie as well. Pretty fascinating. 3.5 stars for Fukushima, a nuclear nightmare. Now, next up, I've also got another documentary, and this one is on Netflix. It is called Louis Theroux Inside the Manosphere. If Louis Theroux, he's got a whole series of documentaries, and I've seen a few of them, and he's one of those guys that he tries to get into really unusual or extreme worlds and find a way to get a pretty realistic point of view from inside those worlds without being overly judgmental. You always get the idea he's coming from a point of view where maybe he's not a supporter, but he wants to be, I guess, neutral enough that these people that he's within, these groups he's within, will give him more than they probably want to, a better view than they expect to give to the person. I think he went inside like some white supremacist groups at one point. He did a whole thing about the Scientology church, and I watched that one. That one was really good. And a lot of times he's in things where it feels like exposing what he's exposing might be threatening to him as well. This one, Inside the Manosphere, directed by Adrian Choa, by the way, is one of those movies I think works best for people who either aren't aware of the manosphere at all or are only somewhat aware of this manosphere. And I think a lot of people still even hear the term and don't even know what that is. What is the manosphere? I would say the best way to think of it is if you think of how in the early pre-Trump and then beginning of the Trump era, the importance of the whole incel, 4chan, Pepe Le Prague, troll, all that culture, QAnon. If you think about all that stuff together as being this huge kind of uprising of kind of conspiracy theories / philosophy / a weirdly important group for influencing modern culture and modern politics, then the manosphere is I wouldn't say grown up, but I would say the slightly slicker, more acceptable, but more influential and more overt kind of version of what that earlier group was. And here you've got, it's the influencer version of it. It's the really into cryptocurrency version of it. It's the fast car, flashy car driving, the Andrew Tates of the world, which is probably the most well-known in the group. So anyway, Louis Theroux goes to do essentially ride-alongs with 3 or 4 of these guys that are fairly influential in this world and kind of showing you like what the philosophy and what the world of this manosphere is all about. And just to thumbnail it, I think it's interesting to go into the world. It's maddening, and it's almost unbelievable if you're from outside of it that it exists and that it is as influential as it is. But to underestimate the influence of this kind of quote unquote philosophy is to really miss the boat and to not be aware of what kind of mindset in the world right now is prevailing in a certain groups, especially young, somewhat disenfranchised dudes. That's a big group for this. I guess you'd say like on the fringe of this would be things like Joe Rogan, but Joe Rogan is much more like old school and much more thoughtful than the Manosphere. And once again, if you don't know who Andrew Tait is, look him up. You'll get a better idea of what this is all about. Once again, he goes with several of these guys. You watch them on their various streams and how their philosophies of the world. A lot of times it includes things like making money, very, very overt sexism in a way that's beyond that, and very, I mean, most people would call it like toxic, but you might just call it just extremely childish and selfish in a way that is really dehumanizing. A big thing you'll hear a lot of these guys say is one-sided monogamy, and you get to find out what their concept of that is. But whenever they're pressed on it, just the slightest bit, or Louis is somehow able to talk to the women in their lives, you see how that starts to break down really quickly. Or just, this is a very interesting documentary. Like I said, it may be very maddening to you, but I think being maddened, being angered by something that exists in the world is useful to actually have a view of something you may not know about. And once again, this is a documentary that lives and dies off of showing something you've never seen from a side you may have never seen before. And once again, you might dismiss it and saying like, this is such a fringe group. This is such a fringe philosophy. It's such a little part of the world. Why are we like focusing on it like it's a big deal? But he does do a point, Louis does a point of several times throughout this movie. He's following along these various guys as they're out and about in the world, doing their streams and just filming and being interviewed by Louis. And these guys will just have random groups of young men on the street run over in adoration and just be like, oh my gosh, they're just like seeing a rock star across the street. And that alone, the fact that that is the case, should tell you something about the reality of how pervasive and influential this stuff is, way more than you think it might be. Once again, I'm going to go 3.5 stars for Louis Theroux, Inside the Manosphere. I would say it's super useful. If you're already somewhat aware of it and you want to know more, it's great for that. If you aren't aware of it at all and you just don't understand why things are in the world right now, this will give you an extra level of context and perspective that you may not have quite had. Because if you're trying to understand things like, why are so many young dudes into the whole MAGA Doge thing? Like, why is that so enticing to them? You'd think they wouldn't want it because it's not. Watch this. It might give you a better perspective. All right. Last but not least, I caught up with It Was Just an Accident, directed by Jafar Panahi, a very, very renowned Iranian filmmaker. First of all, this did win the Palme d'Or. It also was nominated for International Feature. It did not win, surprisingly, but there's a lot of good movies in that list. And I'm slowly catching up with some of the Oscar movies. I don't go out of my way to try to. There's a whole bunch I haven't seen that have got tons of acclaim, Hamnet, all this other stuff. I do want to eventually get to all those movies, but I'm not rushing to get to them. But this one, just considering the Iranian war going on right now and all that stuff, I thought like it would be really useful to see a movie that's from the inside, from somebody who's inside that world, who obviously is not sympathetic to the Iranian powers, but also is presenting the side of the actual people on the ground, which of course is the side that always matters and the side you rarely see. You will see the politics from the leaderships against a nation and the leadership running a nation, but rarely the people that are actually living in the nation. So let's talk about them. Panahi, though, is renowned for being a very, very, I guess you'd say, brave filmmaker in the fact that if you want to make an officially sanctioned film within Iran, you have to basically get the approval from the powers that be, because of course they want to ensure that the image of Iranian culture and the image of whatever it is that's going out there is something they support. So if you don't get that sort of approval from them, you are essentially breaking the law and can be put in prison. And Panahi has been put in prison and been put on house arrest and continued to make movie with the threat of imprisonment throughout. In fact, after this movie right now that I'm talking about got made, I believe he was re-imprisoned for a period, and I think has now been let out. So once again, this is a person who's literally making art that they want to make, knowing that it is dangerous for them to do so physically to themselves and to their ability to be a free person in the world. So that alone is something pretty special. Now, the movie could be whatever, and the process of making it would still be remarkable. But in this case, the movies are also often really good. I have not seen most of his movies. I need to go back and check a bunch of them out. I know that some are very famous. I think he did one called Taxi, where he filmed a lot in the taxi because he, once again, has to run and gun a lot of this stuff. He doesn't have permits to shoot these movies, so he has to find ways to shoot them in public or semi-public where he doesn't get arrested. He did another one called This Is Not a Movie, where I think he filmed it mostly in his home because he was under house arrest. This movie, though, is more, if you didn't know that background, I don't think you would think twice about how this movie looks. You would not suspect it was made in the way that we're talking about. But if you know that, you do look at it slightly differently. You look at certain scenes and certain settings and go like, oh, well, that might be a reason that setting was chosen, because he could do it relatively in secret without eyes upon him and still get the scene shot. But either way, it's a pretty great movie. This movie basically, oh boy, how do I give you this movie? First of all, I'll give you the three, there's a lot of characters in here, but three really key characters are Shiva, played by Miriam Afshari. You've got Vahid. Vahid is really kind of your main character. Vahid is played by Vahid Mobaseri. And then Egbal is played by Ibrahim Azizi. Now, the movie starts with actually the Egbal character. He may not be Egbal, but they think he's Egbal. I'm going to give you the basic concept of this because it is important to know. It is a little bit of a reveal, but it's a reveal that's done in the first 10 minutes because it sets up the entire movie. Once again, if you're interested in this movie at all, you don't have to listen to the review. Just let you know right out of the gate, I'm 5 stars in this. It's fantastic. It's not an action-packed movie, but if you like movies about revenge, retribution, justice, what does it mean to get justice, or how do you get peace when you've had injustice in your life, and courtroom kind of movies. It's not a courtroom movie, but it has a lot of the same sorts of debates between people about what should be done to a person that you think is possibly guilty of something. I'm being very vague there before I get into the basic setup here. So if you don't want to know anything more, then I would say 5 stars, go check it out. It is currently on Hulu, by the way. So if you have Hulu, you can watch this right now. So go out and check it out. If it sounds interesting to you, I think it will be interesting to you. If it doesn't, it still might be, but I mean, it's not for everyone, obviously. Basic concept is the character I called Egbal, which may or may not be Egbal. You'll find out why. He's with his family, driving at night with in their car. The power is out in most of the areas. There's not a lot of light. And there are wild dogs running around the streets a lot. And while they're driving, he hits something. He stops his car. You don't see it, but you figure out really quickly he hit a dog and most likely killed it. In fact, he did kill it as far as you can tell. He goes out to look at it. You don't see it. You just see him looking down. His young daughter is in the back seat, and she's really distraught by this. And he says something to the effect of, I wasn't on purpose. I didn't mean to do it. In fact, I think at some point he even says the title, it was just an accident. And it was something about it being like it was God's will that happened. And the daughter is not really calmed by that, but she accepts it. And off they go. But very quickly, their car breaks down. And this is the inciting incident. Their car breaks down. They get it to a nearby little shop. And the person that works there comes out to try to help them restart their car and to help them as much as he can. Just strangers, but they look like a nice family. And another person that works there is upstairs. He's upstairs in kind of this loft area, so he can't really see the family. And the person who's upstairs, that is Vahid. And Vahid immediately stops and he looks distraught. And he hears a sound like a squeaking sound. It's the sound of an artificial leg that the father in that family has. And Vahid immediately hides away. And in fact, at one point he calls down. He has to be called down for something. And he calls back with his voice and he tries to disguise his own voice. And immediately, like, something's up here. He doesn't want to be seen or heard by the father of that family. And then shortly after that, the family leaves. Vahid, the next morning, he basically follows where the family went to live. He follows the man, and he essentially kidnaps the father of that family. And the reason he does this is because he is convinced that the father of that family is Iqbal, and that's what he knew him as, who was his torturer in prison. So Vahid thinks he is basically caught and is ready to get revenge on the person he thought was his cruel torturer in prison. And you would think like, well, that's a crazy setup for a beginning of the movie. Like, where's this movie going to go? I mean, within the first 10 minutes, Vahid has a open grave in the desert, and he's ready to kill this character he thinks is his torturer. But the torturer, before he's about to die, gives just enough doubt to Vahid that Vahid needs to get true confirmation that he has the right person. He's already struggling with the idea that he's going to basically murder somebody to get revenge and to get justice from what happened to himself. But I don't think he can live with the idea that he might have got the wrong person. So he needs to make sure he's got the right person. So essentially this ends up becoming a road trip where he is going from place to place, and he's getting in touch with people who also experienced the same suffering at the hands of the same torturer. And he's trying to get them to see if they can identify this person. And keep in mind, all these people were blindfolded. So they're using other techniques, like trying to hear his voice, or they got like a glimpse of his leg, things like that. And they're trying to prove to themselves that they have the right person. And within this ongoing kind of journey, you also will have them all struggling with the idea that even if he is the right person, what do we do with that information? Now you have him captured. Is it the right thing to go and want to kill him? Should we do something else? I mean, it's very, very interesting. Of course, it is designed to make you ask yourself the same questions. What would you do? What is the right thing to do? And within all of this, you're also getting this kind of I guess on the ground view of just Iranian life, because a lot of this is shot just in the streets around the area, just watching how things interact. And I was struck by a few things. Once again, 5-star movie, great movie. I'll get into a few spoilers here in a minute, so just keep in mind, I will warn you before I get into the big spoilers. I know you might say that was a spoiler alone to know that, but the basic setup is important to know the concept of the movie. But a non-spoiler thing that was interesting to me as just a way things work there, which I had not considered, is you notice that the way currency, or the way that money is dealt with here, is really interesting. So there are multiple times in the movie where they encounter somebody, and then the person expects either a quote unquote tip, or at one point it's really a bribe for some officials to look the other way. Or say, for example, they're at a hospital at one point, and a nurse expects them to give them a tip. Things like that you wouldn't expect. And people throughout the movie have the little handheld credit card scanners. So you get the idea that there's really been a monetization of instilled institutional corruption just built into the world. Now, I don't know if that's actually a thing in Iran, but it seems to be. And I would take it from the point of view of what we're seeing here, that everything is pretty much the way things are. And I found it very fascinating, just almost like an offhand thing. It's just the way the world works that we're watching. It's not even commented on. It's just how things are. So in the middle of this kind of overall story of revenge, retribution, justice, and all this stuff, it's really interesting. There's these little plot points like that, or little elements of the storytelling that are just giving us a glimpse from this other side of the world of just how things work. How do things work in this kind of world? And not that what we have is anything better, it's just different. It's interesting how it's codified into the system and on a person-to-person basis. And I found that really, really fascinating. The acting here is pretty much fantastic throughout. Great characters. Once again, I've only mentioned 3, but they gather a whole group of people. At one point, Vahid, I think in his van with the person that he's captured, there must be another 4 or 5 people. I'm trying to think how many other people with him. At least another 4 people at one point. It becomes quite an issue to have to it's not a secret really anymore, obviously, if all these people know it. So at this point, you really are having to decide what are you going to do. Another thing I thought was interesting is Vahid isn't very good about, if he was worried about people finding out who did this, if it ends up happening, he doesn't do a great job covering that up because there are a lot of things he does that should allow him to be tracked if they ever decide to track him. So that adds a level of worry for you too. He's not being strategic. He's really being emotional about this whole thing. In fact, the fact that he even is stopping enough to try to verify what he's doing is still emotional in the fact that he's probably just trying to keep his soul somewhat preserved if he ends up going through with this thing by at least hopefully confirming that he's got the right guy. Okay, that's everything. 5 stars. Once again, fantastic movie. And I will get into a few spoilers right after this. But before that, I will say thanks, everybody. Thanks for listening. We have some really good movies this week. At least I had some that I think are good. It's solid to watch. Everything here I watched this week I thought was good. I watched a couple more movies I didn't even talk about. And I've been watching some TV series. A couple of the movies I saw are for 2019 Patreon, which will be coming next week. So I won't talk about them right now, but there are some interesting movies there as well. So anyway, thanks for everybody for listening. Once again, if you want to get spoilers for It Was Just an Accident, either get on the Patreon or wait for about a week and we'll have that out for you. That being said, I'm out of here and ice. Still them all the way.